And tonight on the Daily Wrap, over 22 million people tuned into last night's debate. Were you one of them? Is that a rhetorical question? Plus, we have all the highlights and a lot of facts and figures were tossed around last night as well. We'll sort it all out for you in a little game called Truth Detective. And Coulter, some call her the Coultergeist, goes off and over the top in a tweet that you will not believe during the debate last night. Wait until you hear it. This is the Daily Wrap, and we're live from New York City. Welcome to the show, everybody, with my co-host Rick Ungar. I'm Joe Concha. Post-debate, next day, Fiorina, your next president, Ricky.
Don't get carried away. She did a great job. Absolutely. She clearly was the winner of the night.
No,
I think most agree.
Hillary was the winner of the night.
Well, that's I was just going to say, but the real winner of the night, if you watched Hillary's interview with Jimmy Fallon, I think she might have been the big winner last night, folks.
Wow. Well,
she did a great job.
We'll certainly debate
Saw
that.
a little love and comedy from Hillary.
Rick back on the Hillary bandwagon. That took 2 weeks.
Just calling them as I see them.
Okay. Well, he is candid. And to Mr. Candor's right. He's thinking about it, but he is. Jonathan Gilliam is here. I'm told it's Gilliam and not Gilliam.
Well, if you spell it Gilliam, nobody's going to be able to find me on Google, so I always say Gilliam.
Oh, that's smart. Okay, yeah, I get it.
I got my
I didn't get that at all.
in there.
Yeah.
If you say Gilliam, people miss that.
Okay.
To Mr. G's right.
Misses it with it.
He's the editor of the WisdomDaily.com. Brad Hirschfeld, or is it Field?
It is Field. There's an eye in there.
Okay, very good. That's why.
Between us, you got two eyes.
Very good.
Wisdom Daily, can you give some of that to Rick?
All right.
I'm trying, brother.
Daily
I'm trying.
download.
I need Wisdom Nightly.
And last night, CNN hit a personal ratings best when close to 23 million people, 22,600,000 to be exact, tuned in to see the second GOP debate. The 3-hour debate provided lots of highlights and insights of the candidates running for the Republican ticket. Donald Trump, of course, was the center of attention and was positioned next to Governor Jeb Bush, which provided plenty of fireworks.
Your wife is a lovely woman.
She is.
I
She's
don't
fantastic.
know her, and this
She
is
is
a total
absolutely the love of my life, and
mischaracterization of what
she's
I
right
said.
here. And why don't you apologize for her?
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong. Your
You
brother
know, man.
and your brother's administration gave us Barack Obama because it was such a disaster those last 3 months that Abraham Lincoln couldn't have been elected.
You know what? As it relates to my brother, there's one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe. I don't know if you remember, Donald.
I don't know, you feel safe right now? I don't feel so safe.
It's very high energy, Donald.
Just odd. That's the only way I could put it. They hated each other. They were happy. Donald had a full smile, which I've never seen. We're going to get more of that exchange, but first, let's get to his exchange with Carly Fiorina in what some are calling the big moment of the night. But first, Jonathan, what did you think of Mr. Trump's performance?
Well, you know, I think that he solidified last night that out of all the candidates, he has the most command presence. Now, whether or not he went into detail about, what he's going to do one way or the other, I don't think anybody really did fully last night. I think he was able to tell literally anybody that tried to challenge him to stop talking. And in cases like Jeb Bush, he actually told Jeb when to talk. And I don't think anybody else had that command presence, and that's a big part of leadership.
Do you think people see that and they say, okay, this is how he's going to treat Putin. This is how he's going to treat the Iranians?
I don't. I think people,
I mean that as a compliment,
sure,
in a way. Like, at least he's assertive and he projects strength.
I think part of what he showed last night is he has the ability to think while he's doing that. And I think, it'll be a good test to see how he treats, people that work for him. I thought he treated the moderators very respectively last night. I don't think they were attacking him. He didn't attack them either.
Certainly the center of attention, no question about it. There were 73 questions last night, and 32 of them involved Donald Trump.
Yeah, but
that's
the
amazing.
real centers of attention were the people who were able to deflect the attention away from him. The one thing I'll actually give Trump credit for last night, he seemed to come with the mindset of not just being Trump, but of being one of the gang. And I actually liked that about him last night. He high-fived somebody, I think it was Jeb, and he did a few things like that where I went, that's pretty smart, actually. You know, you're still in first place, but you're being one of the gang. That was good.
He did attack Rand Paul's looks, though.
Well,
at the same
he
time.
did. I mean,
without being provoked.
He came out being Trump-like, but a lot of that faded over the night because I think he was ready for it. He was ready to have to play defense, and he did okay. But it wasn't his night, though. Not that he was hurt last night. I think we'll still see Donald Trump first in the polls when the new polls come out. But I think the night clearly belonged to Mrs. Fiorina, and we do have our poll, our Newsmax poll, which clearly shows Trump in the lead. It was an interesting night. Also interesting because we got to some substance finally.
Yeah. Well, when you have 3 hours, I hope there is.
Not from Mr. Trump, but we got from some substance.
The one thing about the substance, though, last night, which I thought was very interesting, and this is where you can start to see the entertainment value, is exactly what you're talking about. Substance, and then let's throw some Trump in there. Yeah. I'm not saying Trump wasn't substance, but let's throw something in there that's going to get people a little jazzed up.
Like smelling salts, almost like, oh, that foreign policy conversation is going to be making you feel sleepy. Oh,
Trump.
Which is where the opposite of Fox was. Fox was all Trump the entire time, and then a little bit of substance in there.
Interesting. I think Trump, see if you agree with me on this one, sensed about halfway, not even halfway through, very early on, that this was not his home court. That this was establishment, Reaganites, California rooting against him. And when he tried to land some zingers in the beginning, you could hear the crickets.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. This wasn't zinger night. In fact, what he did do well, if you word cloud the entire debate, the word that stands out the most, that was used the most over the course of those very long 3 hours, is the word people. What he tapped into is that kind of populism, and he did that well. But he tried to dial back the bullying, and I think that's the issue he's got to work on. Somewhere between too much command presence and full-on bullying, there's a line. He hasn't found it yet.
All right, well, let's move on to Carly Fiorina, who had a strong night. Some say she won the night. I say she won by a country mile. When asked about Planned Parenthood, this is what Carly had to say.
Anyone who has watched this videotape, I dare Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama to watch these tapes. Watch a fully formed fetus on the table, its heart beating, its legs kicking, while someone says we have to keep it alive to harvest its brain. This is about the character of our nation. And if we will not stand up and force President Obama to veto this bill, shame on us.
I had in my notes that being the best line of hour one, because that was authentic and that came from the heart. Now I'm going to let you in because you're saying that there was
it wasn't accurate. I mean, it was. She delivered it beautifully, and it did have an impact. The problem is there's no such video of that.
There is somebody giving testimony of that happening.
Not what she said.
Right. That video is
so
not exactly correct, but the impulse toward the callousness regarding life is there. It was captured in those videos, and people are responding to that, including people who are fundamentally pro-choice, because they're doing what Americans have said for a long time. Even if they're pro-choice, they're not anti-life, and those videos ring of a kind of anti-life callousness.
Yeah, I think it's a semantical argument. I understand you don't see a video with a baby, but
I give you, she the way she delivered it, absolutely, positively scored. It did. It'll score with the base. It got my attention. I think it got everybody's attention. But, you know, it's always better, and we're going to go into this a bit more later about where else Fiorina might have not stayed all that accurate with the truth, but still did a phenomenal job of delivering her lines.
Absolutely. Let's show the Newsmax poll, people in the control room, if possible. Because curious to see, even though I had Fiorina winning the debate, obviously Mr. Gillum says that Trump won, or at least that was the impression that he gave. What do you guys make of this poll, and who would you say won?
I think it's pretty, good on Trump and Fiorina. What is surprising me over and over again is Marco Rubio. I don't know if we're going to go into this later, but I have my own reasons for not really enjoying what he had to say. I think he said a lot of Wikipedia type stuff and party line stuff. I didn't hear any substance out of him, but people buy into that.
It's who lost, and who lost last night was Walker, who wasn't even on that list and had to break through last night. And I think Cruz, I'm going to put in the winner category.
Okay,
really?
Yeah, we're going to show some Marco Rubio next, but usually Trump wins these polls by bigger margins. But I'm still shocked that it wasn't closer on our poll, that it was a 26-point margin still for Trump. I didn't see it that way. Anyway, what do you think, and who do you think won last night's debate? Go to newsmaxpoll.com and cast your vote. Coming up, we're going to sift through more debate highlights and separate fact from fiction. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to the show. Senator Marco Rubio had a good night last night as well, as he did in Debate 1, which did nothing for his poll numbers. And Newsmax viewers agreed, voting him into third place. Last night he was asked about global warming.
But here's the bottom line. Every proposal they put forward are going to be proposals that will make it harder to do business in America, that will make it harder to create jobs in America. Single parents are already struggling across this country to provide for their families. Maybe a billionaire here in California can afford an increase in their utility rates, but a working family in Tampa, Florida, or anywhere across this country cannot afford it. So we are not going to destroy our economy. We are not going to make America a harder place to create jobs in order to pursue policies that will do absolutely nothing to change our economy, to change our climate, to change our weather.
Rubio also says an increase in utility prices is not worth what the changes the president wants to put in place, limiting coal production and other so-called dirty energy production. Is this an issue, Jonathan, that will resonate with voters?
I don't think on the Republican side it's going to resonate. And I think one of the things that that really stood out for me with Rubio was when Trump said about his terrible voting record. I think that is one of the ways that you measure somebody's experience or qualifications as being in Congress. I mean, he had no comeback with that. He just said that he knew he was going to run for president. I mean, that's not a comeback for that.
Rubio has a very special problem, and it's really manifesting itself in the polls that we see every month. He is identified as one of the candidates on the right of the party. In reality, if you look at that voting record and you look at what he says, he's much more center-right than he is right.
That's correct.
And this keeps tripping him up. That answer, I don't know what the heck he was saying. You know, it was one of those answers politicians give you when they know they don't want to sound like an idiot. They want to be on the right side of the answer, but he just didn't really say anything. And this is the problem. When you close your eyes and you listen to him speak, he's very commanding. You open your eyes, he looks a little too young. I think that's a problem. But he is in this trap I don't think he can get out of now.
You know why
he's not as conservative as he wants us to believe he is.
You know why he's center-right?
Why?
Because you just brought it up exactly. He looks young. You know why? Because he is young. He's my age. Right. And people my age don't tend to be right. We're much more moderate on social issues. It's just the way it is. It's the way we're brought up. We're much more
when you
relaxed
get to be
about
my age, you get conservative and cranky.
Well, of course.
Right.
You're still mad about
Unless
the Spanish.
you get liberal
or you get liberal and cranky.
Right.
And that's the point. With the passing of time, people's ideas ossify. What makes Rubio interesting is that's not where he is. He actually isn't a dyed-in-the-wool, doctrinaire kind of conservative. What he is a strong guy who believes in limited government, in real military power where it needs to be used, and then trying to grow the economy in a reasonable way. That doesn't play for the dogmatists, but I think it does play for a lot of real people.
Why don't you play for me your movie titles for each candidate last night that you're so proud of? Go ahead,
I'm
Bradley,
not proud, but
quickly.
here we go. For The Invisible Man, Mike Huckabee. The Disappearing Man, Scott Walker.
You had a warning.
The Quiet Man, Ben Carson and Rand Paul were tied for that one. The Last Angry Man, Donald Trump. The Lost Man, Jeb Bush. A Man of the People, Chris Christie. And then tied for third, a man or woman for all seasons, Kasich, Rubio, and Fiorina. I left you, Ted Cruz.
Hey, I could have done the whole thing in one movie title. Idiocracy.
Oh,
Idiocracy. Okay.
That's the cynical man.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go with Ted Cruz' Solitary Man, which is a movie starring Michael Douglas from about 2010, I believe. Anyway, Dr. Ben Carson had a mixed night last night, that's being generous, when asked about his immigration plan, specifically why it's not amnesty.
My plan is not amnesty for a number of reasons. Number one, I've talked to farmers, and they said they cannot hire Americans to do the kind of job that I'm talking about. And the second reason is because the individuals who register as guest workers, they don't get the vote, they are not American citizens, and they don't get the rights and privileges of American citizens.
Before we get to talking about that particular line, what did you think about his performance last night? Because I felt Ben Carson was Ben Carson. He's not going to change. He's not going to be more fiery, more confrontational. All that said, I have no idea after all these months who he is and what his platform is.
We know
what is the change that he is going to bring?
We know one thing for sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a fashion consultant. Now this picture of Dr. Carson, and I like the suit.
You didn't like the suit?
No, wait.
Carnival Barker suit?
Exactly. It was a Carnival Barker suit, and when you see it on live television, the lines, when they're chalk lines like that, they go bzzz. And he was like, a producer just said there,
Roger
but Roger
Stone
loved it.
And Roger Stone does write fashion.
Yeah, well, okay.
All right, moving on. What's his candidacy about? What does he really bring besides, I'm smart, I'm not a politician, I'm a doctor, and I'm really smart?
He's a nice man. His ideas are, I'm sorry, they're from cuckoo land. You know, I've interviewed him. He says some really strange things. He does mean well. There is no way in the world this man is prepared to be president.
But you wouldn't mind him as a surgeon general now, would you?
No, not at all. And I wouldn't mind, you know, sharing a beer with him. He's a very nice man.
Very good.
They don't drink beer, very talented in his field.
The thing that bothered me about him last night was the fact that he said he told Bush this and he told Bush that about the Gulf War. I'm not looking for somebody, which Carly Fiorina has the same problem, who may have been in private practice, but were very, very, very close to politics. That's somebody who's coming on and misrepresenting themselves as far as I'm concerned, because obviously he had some contact with
Trump,
politics.
who's given a fortune and was close to every politician.
But Trump isn't trying to hide that. You see what I'm saying? They're portraying.
No, but he said he's not a politician. He says he can buy them, like, you know, like Don Corleone.
I buy your criticism, but you have to include him.
Trump is not hiding it. What I see with Ben Carson is, I'm not a politician. I'm around it.
She ran for Senate in California. I mean,
they're still running on that platform.
Does Ben Carson now, because we're wrong every time, so let's just admit that we are, because we didn't see that surge coming after the last debate.
No, we didn't.
Right, but are we right this time where people say, yeah, I just don't quite get the candidacy?
Ask me next week.
Not yet.
Ask me next week.
It's too soon.
It is too soon.
It's too soon. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. It's too soon.
So who do you think won last night's debate? You know where to go. Go to newsmaxpoll.com and cast your vote. Coming up, we're going to sift through more debate highlights. We're going to separate fact from fiction, and boy, there's a lot of that. You don't want to miss it. Yes, this is the Daily Wrap.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. While there were many impressive moments in both the main event and the kids' table debates last night, there was, as usual, no shortage of statements that requires some, shall we say, further examination. We thought we would highlight just a few of the more fanciful claims of the candidates to see if they can pass the truth test. You can play along with us by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. First up, Trump gambles on calling out Jeb Bush when it comes to gambling in the great state of Florida.
The one guy that had some special interest that I know of that tried to get me to change my views on something that was generous and gave me money was Donald Trump. He wanted casino gambling in Florida.
I didn't want
Yes, you did.
Totally false.
You wanted it, and you didn't get it because I was
it.
opposed to casino gambling
I
before,
promise I would've
during,
gotten it.
and after. And that's not, I'm not going to be bought by anybody.
I promise if I wanted it, I would have got it.
Well, not so much there, Donald. In 1998, while Lawton Childs was still the governor of Florida, Trump joined with the Seminole Indian tribe to bring gambling to the state of Florida, and the two of them together hired a high-powered lobbyist to pursue their goals. Trump then held a fundraiser for Jeb Bush, expecting him to become the next governor, which in fact he did. The problem is that when Bush won, he rejected the idea of gambling in his state, and the Trump Indian bid went away. So guys, let's start with you, Joe. Who was fibbing here?
Trump says that, no, he really didn't go after it, and you can't prove the fact that he wanted gambling. Yeah, he gave some money, big deal, but you can't connect it back. That's what he said on Morning Joe today, and they completely bought it.
They did?
Yeah.
Well, that figures. We don't buy it so easily.
He muddied the waters
really
enough.
does.
I don't buy it at all, but it doesn't matter. The interesting thing about him, he said, if I had wanted it, I would have gotten it. Yeah. That is so profoundly narcissistic. He talks about who do you want to have access to the codes. That's not the personality you want to have access to the codes or to being our commander-in-chief. There are things he does get right. But that, if I would have wanted it, I would have gotten it. He's not running for king of the world. He's running for president.
I hated that question, by the way. about
Why?
would you want Donald Trump to have his,
it's a stupid
his
question.
nuclear codes? Because the implication is that he is crazy. That is the implication.
see.
Do you want him anywhere near the
Right.
button?
No.
That's exactly
He's
what that means.
not Dr.
That was a
Strangelove, and that's
bad
why it was
question.
unfair. But he is profoundly narcissistic, and if he can look at Jeb Bush, whether he's telling the truth or not, and I don't think
It doesn't
he is,
mean he's going to bring the
to
apocalypse
say,
on us.
I
You don't think
agree.
he was
He's not going to
telling
bring the
the truth.
apocalypse, but he does actually
All right,
think
let's
there's no
go to the
difference
Trump
in what he wants and what should
Let's go
be.
to the Trump council here.
Well, having a degree in psychology, I will tell you that the best way to measure how narcissistic somebody is that they do a lot of things. A lot of things that people would like to do, but when you look at the substance of what they've done, there's very little substance there. And I think
What does that mean? Did Trump tell the truth last night or
when
not?
you look at what Trump does, well, I'm just saying this about him being a narcissist. When you look at Trump and the things that he's done some amazing stuff as a businessman.
I'm not talking about that. Did he
So,
want gambling?
What
or
I
not?
think in this case, what appeared to me is that the way you just explained it, when Jeb Bush came on, he just didn't pursue it anymore.
You're becoming a politician, Gillum. You totally circumvented
I
that.
learned from
All right,
this
we'll
guy.
let him get away with it. It was absolute nonsense. He had it absolutely wrong last night. He did want gambling. Next up, Carly Fiorina and Trump did exchange a few words on their past business successes or lack thereof.
But as for the firing, I have been very honest about this from the day it happened. When you challenge the status quo, you make enemies. I made a few. Steve Jobs told me that when he called me the day I was fired to say, hey, been there, done that twice. It's also true that the man that led my firing, Tom Perkins, just took out a full-page ad in the New York Times to say he was wrong, I was right, I was a terrific CEO, the board was dysfunctional.
So I only say this, she can't run any of my companies. That I can tell you.
Okay, so Carly went on to point out that Trump declared bankruptcy 4 times. We'll let the politician here, Jonathan Gillum, start this one off. Who's telling the truth and who isn't?
Well, I think Carly Fiorina, when she's comparing herself to Steve Jobs created an entire company and has changed the world. Carly Fiorina didn't quite do that. And I think that all these people that were on there, one thing that we definitely saw is they were pumping themselves way up. And according to each one of them, they're like Superman or woman.
Brad.
Look, here Trump I'm going to defend. He never declared personal bankruptcy. 4 of the ventures he was involved in did throw bankruptcy reorganization. That is the law. It's good business. He protected his shareholders. So technically he is right on this one more than on the Seminole Indian one.
The comparison to Steve Jobs comes from Fiorina because Steve Jobs was ousted by his board. And Walt Disney was ousted by his board. So when people say, well, Carly was ousted by her board, okay.
The answer is they both told the truth and they both lied. Fiorina completely blew it at HP because she bought a company, Compaq, long after they should have. It was at the peak price. But what Trump lied when he talked about Lucent, because Fiorina was wildly successful as the CEO of Lucent. Yes, Trump declared bankruptcy 4 times, not personally, as one of you pointed out, corporately, but he also stiffed a lot of people in Atlantic City on his way out of town. So they were both kind of playing with it, if you ask me.
Well, hopefully we can talk about Hillary Clinton's accomplishments in business,
Well,
or even
we'll
as a
get
Secretary
there
of
one
State
of
or a
these
senator
days.
sometime.
Right. What do you, who do you think won last night's debate? Go to newsmaxpoll.com and cast your vote. Coming up next, Ann Coulter said something beyond offensive last night. She did it on Twitter. We're going to tell you what it was right after the break. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Author and conservative pundit Ann Coulter, who has been very vocal in her support of Donald Trump, just got herself in some serious hot water with the following tweets. How many effing Jews do these people think are in the United States? She followed that up with, maybe it's to suck up to the evangelicals. And then she followed that with, Christie also talks at Israel in response to the question, what will America look like after you are president? Then she adds, all GOP's equal pro-life, pro-Reagan, pro-Israel pandering on all tonight was epic. And then obviously getting a little bit of heat as to her first comment. She writes, I like the Jews. I like fetuses. I like Reagan. Didn't need to hear applause lines about them all night. It's not about Jewish people. It's about Republican panders. I think that's enough. None of those mean a thing to me except for the very first one, and I think we're going to go right to Brad to respond to this.
The Irish Catholic you're going to go to?
There you go. Well, I'm running for Pope in my next life. Look, she sounds like a bitter, angry has-been. I'm not saying that she is an anti-Semite. I don't think you should ever judge anyone by any one utterance. But what she said was anti-Semitic. She used one of the oldest canards that has been around for more than, really almost 2,000 years, that a small cabal of Jews is running the country where they live for their own selfish interests. It's sick, it's perverse, and it's false. But what's worse is, as charming and witty as she has been at different parts of her career and her life, she sounds stupid. Does she not understand that the questions relating to Israel all came about a nuclear Iran? The issue for that is not Israel. It's a tragedy for Israel. Does she not understand it's a tragedy for the United States of America? Does she not understand what it means if a bunch of apocalyptic mullahs have access to the most powerful weapons in the world? The real tragedy isn't here that she sounds hateful to Jews. It's that she sounds stupid about America.
You know, I got to say this. As you know, all kidding aside, you guys know that I tend to go out of my way to have friendships with people who I very much politically disagree with when we're off camera, when we're off radio. Jonathan, you would certainly be an example of that. We don't agree on the time of day, but people probably don't realize we're very good friends. Sean Hannity is one of my closest friends, as strange as that might be to people, because I look at people for who they are, not what their political beliefs are. Ann Coulter and I have always had a decent off-camera relationship. We get along. I enjoy seeing her. I don't enjoy seeing her on air as much. We obviously don't agree. But I don't think that I can look Ann straight in the eye anymore after that.
Want my theory?
Yeah.
Okay. She was drunk.
Maybe.
And I have no evidence for that
Maybe.
whatsoever. But it is at a certain time of night.
But you know what?
You see the worst tweets. You know, they always say bad things never.
So was Mel Gibson.
What?
So was Mel Gibson.
Oh, when he got pulled over?
Anti-Jewish comments.
Right. Yeah, but he wasn't tweeting, right? Here's what I'm saying. You're in the comfort of your own home. There's a debate on, you know what? And boy, that bottle of wine went away in a hurry. The worst tweets always seem to go out at night, and no sober person could have written that knowing that the reaction was going to be positive.
So here's the thing. There's an old adage. There's an old Jewish adage. The wine goes in, the secrets come out, which means that it really is who she is. But I want to tell you, Rick, I don't know if it's really who she is. I don't know if she is sucked into needing to create energy and attention and will say anything. So it would be really interesting if you, who have a real relationship with her, could manage to say, look, here's the deal. I don't think you're an anti-Semite, but that kind of filth is anti-Semitic, and it's beneath you. You need to be able to say to the world what you were thinking and then expect people to let it go.
Well, you know what? I don't have the kind of relationship with her where I could call her up and go, what were you thinking? We just are,
someone needs to be able to do that,
we're
not
able
in anger, and
to speak civilly to one another off camera, and I look for things to like in people, whether I agree with them or not. And this is just very, very difficult for me to accept.
What a lot of people don't realize is that Ann Coulter is not a Fox News contributor. She's on Fox a lot.
That's right.
But she's not under contract. And that's why you'll see her on CNN once in a while. She used to go on MSNBC. She's a free agent, and for a reason, because there is no accountability when she does these things. Who's going to fire her? No one, right? But
John,
that said, Fox, why don't you put your foot down on it? She's not coming on this show with that crap. I know that.
That's right.
And I'll talk to whoever has some power around here. I guess that's you or you. I don't know. As our executive producer, you are not coming on Newsmax if I have anything to do with it.
Get in on this.
Well, I will tell you this. You know, I think that type of a tweet shows you exactly the reality of her expertise in the world. There's a difference between entertainers and experts, and that's somebody who goes out, writes books, does things, and has these entertainment style opinions. And I think whatever it was, whether it was drinking or Ambien, the fact is she needs to realize she's not like me, who spent years in service and have an expertise that I'm called upon to share. She's somebody who's a pundit and a mouth, and when she says things like she did, and then she's going to come on and sit between two Jews who are my brothers, she's got a whole nother thing coming
Quick
to
question. We just have a few seconds. Does this hurt Trump since he's a supporter of his?
No, it doesn't touch him.
No, but it hurts her support.
I don't think it will, but it will with small number of his supporters.
Okay, what do you think about what Ann Coulter had to say in her tweets? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments to share your thoughts with us. And speaking of those thoughts, coming up next, your viewer comments.
And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Let's read some of your viewer comments. They're all about last night's debate. No surprise there at all. Sandy says, and we quote, Ben Carson was a, quote, left-wing Democrat in the past, his own words, but the only one being questioned about his past as a Democrat is Trump. A young Carson also stabbed a teenage friend in the stomach and attacked his mother with a hammer. Everyone is focused on Trump calling a few women names in his past, but not a peep about this former violent past of Carson. Why? I'll tell you why, Sandy. Because Ben Carson learned from that experience, pulled himself up out of poverty, had an illiterate mother, and then became one of the great surgeons of our generation, if not ever. So before we start saying, yeah, he stabbed somebody when he was 13 years old, why don't we look at the end result and say, that is an American success story. Please, get over yourself.
I think you put that very well. I would also add that that mother of his also had all of her kids do book reports every week on a new book.
That's right, you were saying that last night.
So yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, by the way, Sandy, keep watching. We really like it, and we really... I'm sorry I got mad. I just kind of got passionate about that, that's all. So.
Kathy says, you keep building up Trump. We need a president who has served our country in the military. We don't need someone who sits behind a desk and gives out orders. That's why we are in a mess. You were doing so well, Sandy. I vote Mike Huckabee. She was going great. I'm going, this is interesting. We're getting comments that are not all pro-Trump. And then she says, I vote Mike Huckabee, which to me is as crazy as Trump. Sorry.
Considering he has none of the qualifications that she just...
right.
That's
How
right.
does it square with what she's looking for?
Very good point.
He doesn't even have a desk.
In the military, he has, yeah.
Yep.
No service and no desk.
And the trashing of our viewers continues. Patty says, it's nice that CNN turned the GOP on each other. It's shameful. Fiorina is in love with Fiorina. You guys are sucked in by a failure. Sad to say. Gee, I hope when I'm a failure, I become a CEO of a company one day.
I've already been there. It's not everything it's cracked up to be. Alex says Trump was as active as usual. Carson was as sleepy as usual. Fiorina was a bit more lively. Trump remains at the top of the pack. Well, you got it right.
Okay, and Neil says, love your coverage of the debate. However, every time you consult Michael Reagan, he makes comments that clearly represent what I feel middle America is sick and tired of. I see him bashing everyone who isn't a career politician and essentially praising those who are. I guess we could always get Ron Reagan on the show.
Yeah, that's kind of it's an interesting comment because I was watching. I've known Michael for many, many years.
And
the only person, well, you know, I'm old. The only person that I saw him bashing was Donald Trump. I didn't see him bashing the other non-career
Which goes right to what
politicians.
the comment was saying.
Well, the commenter was saying everybody who was not.
No, but what they tapped into is when you're an angry person, people start to see you as angry even when you're not.
That could be. Kitty says, the Donald is very clear on what he will do when he becomes president, really. It's a good strategy to keep people reminded of his plans. Carly is like a student studying for a college exam, studying real hard. Okay.
Okay, and if she's studying real hard, I'll give her an A right about now because she knocked it out of the park pretty much with every answer. Anyway, Buckshot Blake says, I always wanted a nickname like that.
Way to go.
Interesting. Carly did well, and I still like Trump. Bush, go home. Jeb looked like a wuss. His posture is lacking confidence. It's true, he does kind of the shoulder thing just like W does. He looks like he whines a bit more than we need. Yeah, sometimes those optics do come across, and he does do the shoulder thing.
Buckshot there is speaking for a lot of people. Finally tonight, Clayton says, the only thing missing from the CNN debate was the late-night comedian as the commentator. A late-night comedian as the commentator. What a joke. Clayton did not like the debate,
Apparently
folks.
not.
You know what's interesting, though? Nobody we see here commented on the length. I think the big story of last night was going 3 hours. It's never been done before in any presidential debate. I don't know. You know, I think it was really good for CNN.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. I do. I think it was incredibly unfair to the people up on that stage.
Particularly if you're wearing heels.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my nature to be sympathetic to the Republicans, but I felt bad for them. That is rough. 3 hours in those hot lights. We do it an hour a night.
Oh, no.
And it's
Jonathan's going to give the, you think that's rough? Go to Iraq sometime. going to Basra after midnight, and you'll see.
When I was going through SEAL training, we would go through Hell Week where we got to get up Sunday. We don't go back to sleep till Friday. 3 hours, you can't handle that.
They were not
do it in
going
heels.
through SEAL training.
Yeah, but they're going to be your commander-in-chief. I want to see somebody who's got
to feel the pain a little bit.
Okay, time for a little media lesson. All right, the 3 hours was too long. It wasn't like it was scheduled that way in the first place. Somebody who runs that network decided, you know what?
We could sell this time.
The advertising really is coming in nicely. Why don't we add another hour? So if you're wearing heels last night or even work shoes, boy, it sucked. Let's face it.
And for the public, it's a long time to watch, even if you care.
That's what I didn't get in. I think that they definitely did not serve we the viewers. It was 3 hours, and we do this for a living.
We love this stuff, and it started to feel long.
We love this stuff, and it actually wasn't 3 hours because we were all watching the kids' debate. It was 4 hours.
That's right.
Folks, why not take all the candidates, divide it into 2 debates of 2 hours, let everybody interact with everybody, forget the kids' table. We can deal with that.
Yep. Titanic is 3 hours and 2 minutes. Gone with the Wind, 3 hours and 46 minutes. Last night's CNN debate, 3 hours and 17 minutes, and I have to go on that. Anyway, remember, if you want to weigh in on any of the issues we talk about here in the show, go to newsmax.com/comments and let us know. Up next, time for Yay or Nay. And it's happy time, people. Welcome back to the show. It's time for Yay or Nay. First up, following last night's big debate, Donald Trump actually spoke with Hillary Clinton and gave her a little advice. Shut the front door. Let's take a look.
Hello. Who's this?
Congratulations, you're speaking to Donald Trump.
Oh, hello, Donald.
Now look, I know you're about to go out for your interview with Jimmy Fallon, but he's a total lightweight. So I'm going to do him a favor and interview you instead.
That's great. You know how much I love being interviewed.
You want to win? Here's what you got to do. Pick 3 things everyone loves and say you hate them. Watch. Puppies, stupid. Rainbows, total losers. Fall foliage, tree puberty. Are you writing all this down?
Hold on. Let me grab my pen. Did you have any idea what it's like to work so hard for something to be so close to getting it, then someone pops out of nowhere and tries to take it all away?
Are you talking about Bernie Sanders? Anyway, you're welcome for this interview. I just really helped your campaign. Your poll numbers are going to be fantastic. They're going to be big.
Don't you mean they're going to be huge?
That's right, they're going to be huge! Cue the music!
That was good stuff. Hillary smiling, laughing, making jokes. Frick says it's now the resurgence of her campaign will be because of that Fallon spot that no one barely saw because they were still watching the post-debate coverage. She seemed to be having a genuinely good time, except it's now been learned and reported by several networks that when she took that swig of wine, it was actually apple juice. Can anything be authentic in this campaign? Anyway, was her appearance on The Tonight Show a great move in her efforts to appear more fun and spontaneous as they announced just last week? Yay or nay, Rick Ungar?
In the words of Trump, it was huge. It was huge. I mean, if she can keep that up, that was a great, great night for her. I wrote an article today, said that she may have been the biggest winner of debate night, and people did see it. We like to think they were all watching us on post-debate. They were watching, believe me.
Okay.
Especially the Democrats, and that's who she cares about right now.
Because Fallon doesn't make any politician look good or anything, Jonathan.
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to say nay, and I'm going to give her an F as far as a performance. And I'll tell you why.
How do you really feel?
In all seriousness, because here's the deal. Laugh as you may, there are people who have been put in jail for doing less than what is being alleged now that you're saying. I'm saying that she did it with, she actually did with the servers.
Did it change her image a little bit, or you don't care because you look at her and you see criminals?
I just think that if she had not done these things, she could be funny, but to me, this is just a slap in the face of people who serve this.
Three-word answer, we got to move on.
I'm going to give her a B-, but what's plausible is, since she and Trump are actually friends, and he may have entered politics at her husband's behest, that interview could have happened in real life.
That's true. Okay. I love how you do like the whole subset. Not a B, a B minus. Thanks, Brad. Anyway, well, while we're on the topic of Donald Trump, it's safe to say that Mrs. Clinton was watching last night's debate as she and her team started live tweeting in Spanish. Who knew Mrs. Clinton knew Spanish? Well, after Mr. Trump said, quote, "This is a country where we speak English, not Spanish," this is what she had to tweet out. A whole bunch of weird words kind of put together. You would think with the name Concha that I would kind of know
weird.
This stuff.
It's Spanish.
Yes, que trabijan doro cada. I can't. That's German. I can't even make that out.
It's terrible.
Terrible.
To my
Even
Latino,
I know what that means.
To my Latino and Latina friends out there, I apologize for them. It was not gibberish. It was Spanish.
I know I'm making a joke. It's self-deprecating humor that as a Concha I should know Spanish, being that I am Spanish. The point is, was that a smart political move? Quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it matters with her.
Okay.
I don't think it matters, but no, it doesn't matter. But it was a smart move. It doesn't matter because she's Hillary.
Very good. Well, it's official. New England Patriots quarterback, his name is Tom Brady, is a Trumpster. This after a red Make America Great Again hat was spotted in the Super Bowl MVP's locker. They've been BFFs since 2002, apparently, so this isn't shocking. Are you shocked that Brady is a supporter of Trump? Yay or nay?
He went to the University of Michigan. Nothing he does shocks me.
Wow, good move, Ohio State.
Trump runs in circles. Yeah.
It was a smaller hat. They overinflated it.
Ah, very good. So that's all for tonight. I'm Joe Concha. Well played. On behalf of Rick Ungar and the rest of our panel, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. The Steve Malzberg Show. That's next.